Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another podcast. Another I guess that I always because I got asked the other day actually from somebody like a good friend who said I wouldn't mention her name, so I generally won't mention your name. But I know you watch this, so what's happening? But she's like, you should get some people, more people that are involved in women's football because you've had somebody on, but you tend to we're interested. So is the opportunity came up to have today's guest, which is Lewis Britton. So how are you doing, mate?
I'm not bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. I'm all right. I've got a horrendous cough, as you heard before, but honestly, I'm all good. I'm all good, but I don't know what it is. But anyway, so involved in I'm always curious with yourself, and when it comes to getting involved in, before we go into your past and stuff, when it comes to getting involved in women's football and men's football, what was the reason you choose women's over men's, or was it just it just kind of came up?
It just kind of came about. But to be fair, when I started working in women's football, it kind of gave me the love of the game for it and the bite for it, because anybody that's worked in women's football knows that you get more of a response when you coach in women's football. Obviously, I've coached young toddlers all the way up to men in the men's game, and I've coached women's teams, and I'm part of a women's setup just now. So anytime I've been involved within women's football, you always feel like what you're trying to bring across and what you do for the girls is always appreciated more than you get in men's football. I don't know if that's just because it's men to men, or obviously some of the guys I've coached have been older than me. Whereas anytime I've coached women, be it older, younger, whatever, it's always been that response and that kind of respect. And that's what's led me to keep being involved within women's football, because obviously I've been involved in men's football as well. I'm involved in both just now, so you kind of find that you get a wee bit better response from the women's game.
Yeah. So again, I'm curious as well, because you started off with the Park Sports Project as a community football coach, but before we even get to that, I'm just another question. When it comes to coaching yourself, it's obviously very you're very, from what I've heard from people, I've never actually experienced it, but from what I've spoken to people, they say it's pretty much the 24/7 role. But were you always wanting to be a coach, or was it just was it when you were younger, you were because everybody kind of wants to be policemen, astronauts, firemen, all those sorts of people, or were you no, I actually want to be involved in football and coaching and things like that?
Well, it's actually funny you mentioned policemen. I was actually in the recruitment process at Tallyalan. During the police, and I failed by 1 mark. So that was a wee bit gutting, but it was just by chance. I was on my way back from Tallyalan, and I was checking the college courses, because I left school and I just went straight to work. I never really had I kind of wanted to do stuff within sports, but there was never a set career that I wanted to go down. And it was just one day I was in the car with my dad and was looking through the college course, and I seen, there's one at Cardonald, and it involved with Celtic. So it was a programme where you go and you get taught by former Celtic coaches and the lecturers as well. And that's how it developed into coaching. And as soon as I started to look at that course, and then obviously the interview for it, that's what kind of sparked a fire in me, thinking, here, I'm quite interested in this. I had to look through obviously different coaching things, and being a football fan all my life, I've always been interested in the game. I always felt like I had a good understanding of the game as well. And playing football all my life as well. So when I seen that, I was like, this is a perfect opportunity. And then obviously from the course, it's worked really well. Getting employed with Celtic, and then graduating college to now be at uni doing football coaching as well. So it was kind of, it was never premeditated. It was never I wanted to be a football coach. It just kind of came about, and it's probably the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me. Missing that by 1 mark, because I couldn't see myself as a police officer. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of went to do the process because I heard the money was good. And I was like, that'll be a decent job, it'll be a decent pay. But I can never see myself being anything other than a coach now.
I mind speaking, there's one of the gyms we used to train at, a police officer there was on 40 grand or something. I was like, as a police officer, I was like, I thought you got paid 25, 30, and he was like, no, it's way more than that. We just don't put it out. I was like, what?
I know, because my starting was supposed to be 25, and I was like, that should be all right. A wee decent start off. And then I know some of my mates or dads and that have got themselves in higher places, and they're in that packet. But to be fair, money's like an afterthought. I'd rather do something I enjoy, and I don't see myself as working a job now. It's like living the dream, basically. I know it sounds cliche, but I go to work and I don't feel like I'm working, like, because I'm involved in football and my full life is around football. So I think I've managed to get a lucky break there.
Yeah, just a little bit. But was from that course, did that move you on to the park sports, or was that like before the course you were just telling us about, or where did that fall in?
So it was I was doing my badges with the SFA at Toryglen, and I think it was my 1.2 badge, so my second badge that we'd done at Toryglen. The college paid for them and we were there and we'd done sessions, and one of the guys, Alan Sharp, who owns Park Sports, had seen me after the session and goes, "You seem like a good coach, you've got a great enthusiasm," that type of stuff. He was like, "Do you want to come work for me?" And I was like, "Aye, definitely." Because at that point I never really had any connections per se for football. I played with Newlands, so I kind of took some of their training sessions here and there, but it was never like I had a set role as a coach. And it was only when Sharpie came and offered me that job that I started to build my own role as a part-time coach at that point, obviously now full-time.
What was when you left that to move on to West Sports Academy, was that a progression move, or was that just another opportunity, like you said, that you met someone and you kind of just like clicked?
It was another opportunity, to be fair. It was West Sports. It was mostly like one-to-one sessions. One-to-one sessions. I do a couple of school sessions as well, and it just kind of developed on from there. From doing that, I was just kind of earning myself a wee bit more money. I wasn't really doing many sessions with Park Sports, and I was like, "That's an opportunity to actually earn a wee bit more now." And that was up in Drumchapel, but obviously I don't drive, so the reason why I ended up leaving there was because of the travel and having to get there. I was end up just going even. But I worked with some great players there as well, and the school sessions were a good laugh. David, I was always great when I was working there, and there was always opportunities to go and do extra bits. But with other stuff I had on at the time, I thought I'd be as well trying to find something where it was more feasible for me, where I can not be spending most of my wages getting here and there and back and everywhere.
Yeah. I think that's the problem nowadays, is that I guess as well is that they probably admired you as well because you were willing to take the initiative to, like, if you had to get like I don't know how you travel, but say like a bus, a lift, a taxi, or like any sort of like public transport, or even getting a lift, that shows initiative as well, rather than if you can't actually drive, to be honest. But when you moved on to this might get, and I did say I might get names wrong, is it Gifnook Women's SC?
Gifnook Women.
There we go.
Yeah.
Was that like your first official proper coaching role, you would say, personally?
Yeah. So that was like my first team role. Obviously I'd done like one-to-one and community sessions with Park Sports and West Sports. But that was like my first, like, not management but head coach role.
How did it feel getting that job and being in that environment? Because that was your first, like, well, it wasn't like your first introduction, because that's the wrong way to put it, but it was your first introduction to like a team environment, would be a better way. How did that feel to like step into there?
Starting off, it was a bit daunting. Like, obviously, I was coming in to be. I was actually supposed to work with another coach, but ended up just being myself for a couple of months. So coming in and doing the sessions, and obviously coming in, it was definitely a fresh team. So definitely just started up the women's team. So it was kind of led on my responsibility to give us a style of play, obviously get to know the girls and build a good relationship with them. But I'd say probably after about 2-3 weeks, we had settled in. The girls started to take to me quite well. We started to build our own style of play. And I've still got a good relationship with the squad just now. With my friend, Jack, who was on my course, I brought him in as my assistant. And he's now the head coach after I'd left. And I actually went to go see the girls a couple of weeks ago, and it was just the same reception that I had when I worked there. It was good. It's a good bunch of girls, and it's a good club as well. It's just, it was a good step up for me, and it made me, I would say it challenged me as a coach at times, obviously being the main coach and having players come to me to, obviously, I need to deal with like the admin side of it. I need to deal with how we're going to be playing, who's going to be in the squad, having to drop people for the squad, stuff like that. So it gave me a good challenge, and it gave me a step into more of what it's going to be like in the adult game, and obviously taking a wee bit more responsibility instead of just being told, right, you've got this community session, you've got one-to-ones to do, can you do this? So it gave me a wee bit of ownership and kind of leadership as well as a coach. I kind of developed that in my own kind of coaching arsenal.
Yeah, it's when you were yeah, like I was something you said there about like having to not get rid of players, but like move players, or like, you know, we're not using it for this or not, because obviously you would have got like not like negative. Well, you would have got negativity because you're telling somebody you can't. How did the first time you had to do that, say like tell a player that, you know, we weren't using you or we're having to let you go or something like that? How did you approach that? Because that's, from what I've heard from other people, that's like that's hard because you don't know how they're going to react. How did you approach that?
That's the thing. I kind of thought of the way that I had it when I was playing, about how if I was maybe dropped or if I was having to play out of position or anything like that. And it was just honesty. It was just the first thing I said to her was like, "You're not going to be in the squad for this weekend." I was like, "There's nothing to do with your play or anything like that. It's just we have options there that will suit the style of play better." I was just straight up honest with her. And I think she appreciated the fact I was honest. I said to her, I was like, we've got games coming up where your style of play is going to be a lot more suited to other players in the squad. And it's just kind of not the reassurance, but gave her the, like, actually probably reassurance, gave her the reassurance that it wasn't, she's out the squad and she's not coming back in. It's just the fact that she was going to get utilised in a different game. This maybe wasn't the game for her. And she was going to get utilised against a different opposition where she could have thrived a wee bit more.
It's a great way of putting it as well, by the way, is that as long as like, because I've never played like that type of sports, more of a weightlifting type guy, so it's a little bit different, but I do know from having friends and stuff that it hits their ego a little bit, even though you're not supposed to like go about your ego and that, but it hurts. But at least, like, again, great way of like showing somebody that it's not them, it's just they just wouldn't fit in that scenario, you know what I mean? But you moved
from that, I'd kind of taken off. Like, I'm a big supporter of Alex Ferguson. I've read his book and I've followed quite a lot of his things. And Alex Ferguson was never like a coach; he was always like a man manager. And he spoke in his book about how times he had to do it again with gigs and schools to the best players that you've got there, like Nicky Button, the class of '92. That was the way that he put it. He went, "You're just not. This just isn't the game for you." I was like, "There's games coming up where you're going to be the first name in the team sheet. You're going to be the one that we need in the maybe harder surfaces or like softer pitches, stuff like that." And that kind of stuck with me. Because I wouldn't want to just say to a player, right, you're out of squad and that's it. If I can at least give them a reason and give them a wee bit of assurance that maybe they do need to work harder, or maybe that's what it is, or even if it is what I'm saying positional wise or the type of situation the game is, as long as they've kind of got an answer, I feel that you're going to get a better response. Because if you just leave them in the dark and go, not in the squad this week, see you at training, it's not going to help them, and it's not going to want them to come back or want to work harder to get into the squad because of not being shown that reassurance or faith that the managers put in them.
Yeah, I was just the way to say that. If you were to be that, it's not brutal. It's more of like that straightforward. They would turn around and be like, yeah, okay, well, they might end up being 10 minutes late to training, 20 minutes late to training, and then you have to think about it. It's like, why is that person that's, for example, if there was a person that was like 20 minutes early, all of a sudden 20 minutes late, and it's like, all because you said that they're not this, and it could affect that. But say when is a good point actually. Say when like that sort of stuff does happen, and then and then you start to see the player like going down and like, oh, I don't feel appreciated. Obviously it's not the way they put it, but we all know how like mental health works and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah.
When it comes down to that, how do you then, if you know the person's like, oh damn, and you see them in training and they're not putting 110% in, how do you then go to them and be like, look, what's wrong with you? Even though it's because they weren't in the game, how do you then reassure them that way?
Well, at times when I've had that, there's been multiple times where I've had to have one-to-one meetings with players. Even if it is just like at the time, like Jack take the session and I'll take them away and just have a wee talk to them, in the changing room or whatever, just speak away to them. And it's just down to honesty. Like I always pride myself of being a coach of that. Then if I can be honest with them, then hopefully they can be honest with me. And there was times where I had to take them away and just sit and talk to them, and you would get the response where like, "Oh, I don't feel like I'm appreciated. I don't think I'm going to get played. I don't know if I want to be here anymore." And it kind of goes back to the honesty thing. Like I would say, I'm not going to promise you anything, because if I promise you and let you down, that's going to be much worse than being honest with you. But I would always kind of give them kind of markers to hit. So if like, say it was them being late and their attitude started to change, if I could be like to them, well, if you get yourself back to maybe your timekeeping or your attitude or your attention levels, something like that, if you can maybe do this bit for me, then that only increases your chances of getting back in the squad, or maybe increases your chance of having your time in the squad as well. And it came back majority of the time a positive response. You started to see players switching on to it. And the thing is, like, I've been lucky enough to work with, given it was quite a tight knit squad. So, and it was full of a lot of like smart girls as well. So they knew that it was never like a personal thing. It was never a bad thing. It was just had to happen for the game. And I think that made my job easier, because I know it can be hard if you're dealing with players that do kind of, when they've been dropped, they're just like, I'm not doing this anymore, blah, blah, that type of stuff. Because I know what it's like, and especially when you're seeing the ego, if you do get dropped from a squad, or if you're on the bench after like starting so many games, that type of stuff. And I've always felt that if I've been told honestly why I'm not in that position, then that's fine, as long as I've been told why. And I think that's what most players want, is just to be told why these decisions are happening, why these decisions are being made. And I think that helped any time that I was dealing in that type of situation.
Yeah. So like because it does, because as we know, like the mental health of it being so well spoken about and not so spoken about, it's hard to know that if what you're saying is actually affecting the person. So yeah, I totally feel you on that one. But and a huge respect to yourself for the way you put that, by the way. But so you moved from, well, yeah, you went from there to the University of Glasgow Women's. But I take it that's because you, like you were saying, you're actually, are you at there just now, or?
No. I was only at Glasgow Uni Women's for about 3-4 months.
Was that because you were at the uni? You were saying you were at uni studying it. Was because you were at the uni, or?
No, it was I'd left Giffnock, and I think I was taking time away from the team setup, and then I'd seen that it came up in an advertisement. So I applied for it, got myself in. It was with the Glasgow Uni Women's threes set up. So I was getting myself along to sessions and stuff like that, decent quality. But it was just, when I was there, I just kind of felt like I wasn't getting the same response as what I'd had before, with obviously the players at Giffnock. And I think that's what made me think, I was like, maybe I just need to take a step back from it again. And I was only there for 2-3 months, and then obviously COVID as well. So COVID kind of messed it up. We didn't actually manage to get a chance at any games because of COVID. And from that, I just kind of like drifted away, because I had so much on with like working with Celtic and the foundation and the soccer academy and doing my own stuff, that I was just like, I kind of need to take my step back and take that time again, which is originally why I'd left Giffnock.
Yeah, I was waiting to say that, because then you went from to Hamilton, the Ackies, but
Yep.
that was only for a short amount of time as well, a couple of months. I'm taking it that was the same thing, like COVID kind of just messed that one up for you.
Well, I'd only came into Hamilton October there, November. As a video analysis. Again, I'd seen it on advertised, applied for it, and got the role. But I'd only left there to kind of go progression wise, because I'm now at Kilmarnock ladies doing the analysis, and the fact that I'm getting paid it with Kilmarnock, there's opportunities to grow and progress, and also have a chance to do some of my own coaching there as well. Since I know Andy well from being with BSC, so it was kind of too good an opportunity to miss. So I'd spoke with the guys at Hamilton, and they understood that obviously being a coach, it's hard to get paid roles. So they understood it from that aspect, and I just apologised that it was such a short term that I was only with them for, but they understood that I couldn't knock back that position, especially when it would be more hands-on and obviously getting paid for it as well.
Now, your work with Celtic is, I was reading it earlier on, and I was reading it obviously when I originally spoke to you, and yesterday when I was like, obviously people I get trying read up on people. You've done a lot. You are still with them, but you've done a lot for Celtic. Like a lot. It's surprising to see. It's great on yourself as well, but you're to be able to do all that and do what you currently do. And we'll get into the Celtic stuff because I am really intrigued about that. But how do you then? Because like you're saying, you're also with, you said Kilmarnock, and you're with as you're saying, BSC and Celtic and stuff. So how on earth do you, and obviously you need like downtime and social life. So how on earth do you manage your time? That's I'm sure people would be really interested in that.
I don't know. Honestly, I got asked this. I was starting my C license last Thursday there, but we'd done like a couple of ones before it, and my lecturers were talking to me because you had to fill out that's talking about what roles you do and that type of stuff, and they were like, "How many days a week do you work?" And I was like, 7. Saturday's the only really day that I've kind of got less to do. It's one really the first team games I have on Saturdays, but every other day I've got, if it's not my own one-to-one coaching or team coaching, it's uni, it's working in the schools with Celtic, it's doing the Celtic sessions, it's doing analysis for Kelly, but I'm a type of person where, see, if I sit down for too long, I get bored and I'm wanting to go do something anyway. And I think, see, the fact of COVID, of sitting in the house absolutely bored at my brain, having to come up with, I came up with a couple of training programs through my own business stuff and done that with a couple of teams, and that kept me going. And I kind of promised myself that if there's opportunity, if there's work, I'm just going to do it, because we don't know what's going to happen. Like, there could be another lockdown. We don't know, because I don't, like, anything can happen. So I thought that if I keep myself busy, then it means my brain's always ticking as well. Like, I'm thinking about football 24/7. So I'll see something, maybe if I'm watching a game or if I'm at a game, I'll start to notice things. And it's just constant about football. And I think, like, I'm revolving myself around it, which personally works for me, but I know for other people it doesn't work. I'm a type of person, I don't really need that much downtime, because as I said, I get bored. So when my downtime, I'll chill for a wee bit. I'll maybe go see my pals for a bit, but at the same time, I might be thinking here, I could be doing a wee bit of analysis, I could be watching this, I could be maybe developing this. So it's just kind of how it works for me. I know obviously not everybody's like that, but I think everybody needs to find out what works best for themselves and how their body reacts to it as well.
Yeah, because you were saying with the friends thing as well. It's very true. Like, I know, I might get these words wrong, but I don't think I'm gonna, because an extrovert is a person who likes to go out all the time. Is that, am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. And then usually, I know a lot of people know a lot. I say it like I'm old. I'm only 27, but know a lot of people like that, and they used to be like going out partying all the time, and they've actually became introverts. And I spoke to them not long ago, and they said the exact same thing. It's like, because hanging out with your friends is cool and that, but when you're doing it 6 nights a week, and you're going out at the weekends, and you're wondering why, like, these people that are on like yourself or on social media or anything like that are doing so well. It's like, because they're not doing that. They've kind of switched down and they've become introverts. So yeah, it's good in a way, but I'm always curious with that sort of stuff as well, because people that do spread their time so thin, do seem to be in like the best positions, because then an opportunity usually comes up and they're like, we'll take you because of everything you've done. Like you spread your time, and now if you can confine it into one particular thing. But
that's the thing as well. When I was like, obviously when I was younger, I used to be the type of person like working in retail. I was out most of the time. I was always seeing my pals, and we all grow up and we all get a wee bit older. So most of me and my group of pals are 24, 25 now. So everybody's got their career, everybody's got their job. Some of them have got their like own like families and like houses and that now. So you find that they're obviously doing their own thing and I'm doing my own thing. And I think, see, when you do get your chance to have a downtime, you do have your off time when you get to go see them. It makes it a wee bit better, because when you see them all the time, nothing's new. Like, you're just going over the same thing that you spoke about the day before, or you spoke about the last time you seen them. Whereas if I don't see them as much, there's always something new I can speak to them about. Like, the time's spent a lot better. And I enjoy the time better with them now, because I'm so busy that I don't get to see them and I don't get to tell them about the stuff I'm doing as well.
It's true. But again, no, it makes it kind of sound strange and very cliche, but it's true. It's more special when you actually see people, because then you actually realize like the people that are going to stick around with you for the long run versus the people that we all, I'm sure you did as well. We all had people we hung about with in school that we just don't not associate with now, but we don't click with now because they're only in that kind of circle. And as you progress, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. It's a strange feeling, but yeah. Now you work with the Celtic. You're obviously you do the soccer academy and you do the foundation coach. But we'll go from we'll start on one, and even though you do them both at the same time, we'll go obviously go from one to the other. So do you want to explain a little bit about what you do in the soccer academy, coach? What that does and where you've been?
The soccer academy was through college, so it was like the first year. Myself and two other boys had been lucky enough to get an interview with Celtic, and we were in. I think it was after 4 or 5 months of college, we were in coaching with Celtic, and that from doing soccer academy. Just now, which is weekly sessions, so I only do one session a week at Barrafield, but I used to do sessions at Lennoxtown, where the first team obviously train. I've done camps over Easter, all the holidays, where it would be, say, Monday to Friday, at 10 till 3, where you do different sessions with different groups of kids, like from, 3 years old, all the way up to 14, 15. And obviously we've had the coaches convention as well, so coaches will come over from America, we'll talk to them, we'll lead them around the place. And I've had the chance to go to Chicago, Philadelphia and New Orleans, and coach for Celtic as well, and that was within my first year being with Celtic. Over there coaching clubs over there, doing team sessions and then doing community sessions, and that was for a total of 6 weeks, the year before COVID. So hopefully this year, with fingers crossed, there's nothing else changes and I can go back.
Yeah, what's the difference between like coaching over here to coaching over there? Like what? Because obviously it's the same game, but obviously there'll be some differences to it. But
yeah, I think it's just football's a big growing sport in America. It's getting a lot bigger than it used to be, and there's a lot more enthusiasm. Obviously, there'll be kids who have had me every single week for the past 6 to 8 weeks or at Barrafield. But when I go across to the States, these kids know they've only got me for 2 weeks. And it's kind of like, obviously, they're valuing the time that we, obviously, myself has taken and any other coaches that have taken to go across and coach them. And I think the fact that, obviously, because of Celtic and the name behind Celtic, is that they know it's going to be a proper session, it's going to be proper coaching as well. And I think the enthusiasm over there is massive, because, as I said, it's a growing sport. It just depends. I think it's maybe because I'm coming from Scotland, over the States, that I'm a wee bit more attentive. But that's probably because they've been told, right, there's a Celtic coach coming, best behaviour and that type of stuff as well. But I think it's just the the enthusiasm and the attentiveness is the key aspects of what you get when you go across and coach in the States or when you coach anywhere. Because I know there's a few boys that have been in the soccer academy, have been in like Australia, Italy, here, there, and everywhere. Because I think we've got 81 partner clubs across the world, so it's spread quite a lot everywhere.
Yeah, damn. Was you going to Chicago? Is that where you originally not like picked? Well, yeah. Well, that'd be a good question. Picked to go, or was it you were like, no, I seen that, and well, Chicago's a cool place to be fair, but so like it's that thing as well. But was that where you picked to go, or were you just kind of like, were they like, here's your options and this way you can choose?
Yeah, we're kind of like given. So the coaches, unless you're known by a coach over there, our bosses will like allocate us to places, and obviously ask us if we're able to do the time frame and do the time period as well. And it's not like, right, you've got here, you can go here. They're like, if you can do this, then we'd like you to go here, because obviously they've looked at the type of club that we work with over there, the stature of the club. Because when I was in Philly, we worked with YMS, which is one of the original teams that linked with Celtic numerous years ago. And it was good to go work with them because they've had coaches over for years and years, and the stature of their club. So I think it just depends on what coach they think would fit that role best. And obviously, if you go with a group of coaches, I'm good pals with some of my best pals within Celtic, because I've worked with them for so long, and we've got close and we've been away and abroad together. So they might be like, right, these two work together. They've worked together for years. They work together well. We'll just maybe send them there. And also, if you've got your badges, if you've got more like, maybe say you're coaching your CRC license or your children's license, or maybe if there's some coaches who've got their B license, they might get sent to different camps, because there's elite camps as well. So if you've got the higher grade badge, you get sent to an elite camp where players might have the chance to come over to Scotland and have a trial. So there's different grades and different levels, and I think it just depends on what work you've done before, and if you're a reliable good coach, to depend on where you go.
Yeah, that's awesome. So your work with the Celtic Foundation coach, is that linked with the other work you do, or is that something like a different entity type thing?
Yeah, it's kind of like a different entity. Celtic Foundation is more of the charitable side. Obviously, they've done a lot of fundraising for the club, and they do a lot of stuff in the community. So I've worked in the foundation doing Old Firm Alliance, where I would coach with a Rangers coach, and we would go take sessions to schools. I've done a Joy Movement program. One I was actually doing today. As you go to schools, and you've got a 6-week block where you teach kids about healthy eating, balanced diet, about how exercise is key for their day-to-day living, about water, hydration, and then you would take them for a coaching session. And not necessarily that doesn't need to be football, because obviously not 30 kids in a class aren't going to all love football. So you maybe mix it up and do different types of sports, different types of physical challenges. And it's really rewarding at times, because obviously you work with kids that have got obviously different learning abilities and different capabilities, and you do really see the difference that the 6 weeks makes with some kids. Speaking about a kid we had today, I was talking to his teacher when I started, and he was quite a shy kid. He's got autism, and he doesn't really like to get involved in PE. And now he's biting my hand off to be the first person in the session. He can't wait to get in and run around and play the games, because he's been brought into it a wee bit. He's kind of eased into it, and it's good to see that type of stuff as well. I've also done the fit course, which is for people of a certain weight who come into the stadium, and we work on how can we fix maybe stuff in their diet, how can we get them more exercise, and just give them a better standard of living. And maybe you would go play football with them, you would take them on runs, do assault courses, stuff like that. And even that as well, I think that was a 12-week program that we'd done before COVID. And that was rewarding to see, because you see the real difference physically in these people, but you also see that they're a lot more happier, because they're having a healthier lifestyle, and most of the majority of the stuff that I've done within the foundation has been really rewarding, because you do get to see the difference that you can make to someone's life just by telling them a few things in an hour's session once a week.
Yeah, that's awesome again. But that's that's one thing you do. So the next thing you do is your own business. Is Best Soccer Coaching. How does that is that completely, I don't know if this is a silly question or not, but is that like completely your own stuff? So it's nothing to do with like Celtic or anything else you do? Is that like your own?
Yeah, it's just my own. Yeah.
Do you want to explain a bit about like what, I know it's obviously it's coaching, but like a bit of like what you do and stuff like that?
Yeah, so this was, I think this was near the middle of the first lockdown. I thought to myself, I was like, right, I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting in the house. How can I, one, make myself money, and two, keep myself coaching? So I started working. I started like doing sessions for Drumsagard under 15s, which is near where I stay. And then I thought I could start to do one-to-one coaching as well. And then it kind of branched out. So I started doing online sessions with Drum Chapel, Drumsagard, and Benburb during lockdown, where I would take them for a half an hour presentation. So present to them maybe on a style of play, a team, a footballer, a manager, anything within the game, and kind of break something down that maybe they won't have seen before, or maybe they didn't understand before, and then take them for a little skills practice over Zoom. So I would literally be in my room with a football, doing like touches and that with them, and just making sure that they had something to do with football. It kind of grew itself arms and legs. I started doing my own podcast with football coaches. Started being a lot more active in social media, and then that's how we started to do more of the team sessions. So I'd had my friend Jack came on with me, and we ran our own Easter camp last year, where we managed to get a videographer down to come do like a promotional video for us. And it's helped develop a relationship, certainly with Drumsagard. I'm still going down every Thursday, taking the team sessions, working on shape, maybe working on fitness, different aspects of the game, whilst also taking a few of the players for one-to-ones on Fridays. So it's just kind of building, and we're looking to try have a coaching outlet for online. So we've got a website. We just kind of need to get the kinks worked out on it. It's to put up like coaching sessions, basically to make like a coaching hub. Like if you've got, the way that we were trying to market it was like a Facebook or Instagram for coaches. So you can go on and the coach can see a session. Coach can put up a session, kind of like LinkedIn as well. So there's obviously job opportunities. So they can put a session up, they can talk about it, they can put a video up of a session, photos of maybe how the team's done at the weekend. And then we would upload maybe say Jurgen Klopp talking about playing out for the back, or maybe how Real Madrid successes came back recently, whatever that is. So they get to see something that's different for them, but also have like the job board side of it, where it's only specialised to football coaches, because LinkedIn's a busy place, it's a big place as well. And football coaches, unless you've got the right people or you're following the right things, you can get lost within it. So just try to create that own little hub for football coaches where they can show off their success, gain more knowledge, and obviously try to get themselves out there and get their name known as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's your podcast called? So anybody that's watching this can go and watch your podcast.
It'll be under Best Soccer Coaching. It'll be the Coaches Corner. So I've had a few coaches like Andy Gardner, Kilmarnock, Fran Alonso, Daniel Lennon, Sandy Stewart. I've done a couple with like my own coaches as well, so my friends. So it's good. They kind of gives an insight, because that's professional coaches I'm talking about. So gives an insight for how they went about the game, how they got into the game, their thinking and the decisions, and kind of how they look at it. But then you've also got the aspect of myself and other coaches who are at my level just now, how we see things and how we see the game and that. And we've got a few coming up soon with some players, some ex-players, and some coaches as well. So it's trying to build it up so it's an extra outlet for coaches to watch.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Good on you, man. But so another thing you do, as I said, for the third thing you do, it's crazy that you do so much. That's like a lot of like. I always like to relate it back to myself. College / uni, you could call it, 2 podcasts, and I compete in a strongman. So, but it's a little bit different. That's kind of like they're kind of all different in a way. They're all different types of thing. It's very rare you meet somebody that actually does a lot of one thing. Like as weird as that sounds, if you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I
Um,
get what you mean.
but now BSC Glasgow FC. See when another question actually before we get into your job. See with working at like in Kilmarnock as well, with working at so many different clubs. Is there any like ever conflicting? They're like, oh, I don't know if you should do this. I don't, or they're feeling like, no, if you want to do it, just go and do it.
No. Everybody's all good with it. As I said, Andy's involved with BSC alongside Kilmarnock, so that works hand in hand. There is times where I have to take nights off, but that's everything's spoken about. I've kind of managed to get my diary where there's no overlapping, there's no conflicting nights, and I've kind of been lucky that way. I spoke to Andy about that when coming in, because they train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm only there on a Tuesday for the analysis, because obviously I've got BSC on a Wednesday and then Drum Saga on my own thing on the Thursday, and he was very understanding. He obviously understands I'm trying to make it as big as I can, working as hard as I can. So that's one thing I've never really had with any of the jobs, is I've never really had a conflict of interest, which has been a lot easier for me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well, because all different. And I know, like, how, as I said to you before we started, I'm a fan of like the game football. I just love it. I'm not a specific team as such, but so that was always there. And I know there's obviously a lot of like rivalries and stuff. So I was curious, like, is there any? But I mean, it is good to hear that it's not affecting yourself. It's maybe just like other people think it would, but it doesn't actually affect you. I think that's a good thing. It's a really good thing. But with what is it you do at BSC Glasgow? I know you're the assistant football coach, but is that just, again, is that to like perfect your skills and stuff like that and being a coach?
Yeah, so I'm the under-20s assistant coach, and I help out with the first team as well. So the first team's at semi-pro level, at junior level, and the 20s are in the development league as well. So that was kind of a step up. Because obviously it's semi-professional, it's getting closer to the big game. And I'm the assistant for the 20s. So myself and Tam, who's the main coach, we work and coincide with taking sessions, obviously talking about the game and that. Obviously, Tam's got the final decision for team lines, etc. But everything's kind of, we'll work together. We'll speak about team lines. He'll give me his thoughts, and then I'll speak to him about like, right, this looks good, this is good. We can maybe use him here and stuff like that. So taking the sessions, it's kind of like the sessions getting split down the middle. I'm also taking the goalkeepers there as well, so that's given me another bit into my coaching arsenal as well. Because they're 20s and our first team training together, it's just kind of like, because of the progression, we want to obviously show the progression level. Them working together helps it so much, because you're all around the same environment. So when it comes to a Saturday, when I'm now starting to help out on the Saturdays, like, you're known, and it's a comfortable environment. And I think it was like the first or second session, I think I'd said to Tam, I was like, it just kind of clicks in here. Like, I feel comfortable. I felt comfortable after my first session. I think that was the main thing, especially for the level that they're at. And it's good because they're on the brink of going like semi-pro and that type of stuff as well. Times I've heard of boys who, like, they kind of have like egos because they're not playing amateur anymore. They're get semi-pro. They're getting there. But that's one thing I've certainly not had at BSC, is all the boys are great. They'll work hard for you. And it's good because we always try to devise different things to help the boys, like fitness plans. We show them graphs and statistics of the games. We're going to be doing video in the games soon as well, so we'll be getting video analysis to be done, and it's appreciated for the boys, and it obviously helps myself and Tam and Stevie and Gareth, and obviously Andy as well. Everybody that's in working within the first team and the 20s, it helps develop everybody because we're all kind of working together for like the same goal.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you do it, in a Kilmarnock Football Club as well. It's video analysis. You said you do there as well. How is that? how is when you're in these big teams, like Kilmarnock and obviously BSC and Celtic and all, everything else you've been in. How does it feel to be involved in teams you probably followed when you were younger? That you're doing all these things with all these different clubs, but then it's like how to say this? When the realization hit you at first, you were like, wow, these teams have been around. Like these are the biggest teams. Like your mum, your dad, things they were around when they were younger. It's crazy. How did that hit you? Like how did you deal with that? If you get what I'm trying to say here.
I think it just kind of gave me. It was mostly like a sense of pride. Obviously, working with Kilmarnock ladies it's a massive thing because they're one of the biggest clubs in Scotland. Certainly the women's side as well is one of the biggest clubs in Scotland. And obviously working with Celtic Soccer Academy and BSC, a big club from the semi-pro junior level. It just kind of gives me a sense of pride to look at what I was doing 3 years ago, and just maybe doing one-to-one coaching, doing community sessions, to now be involved in team setups of well-respected and well-known teams. It just kind of gives me that look at the progression I've had, and it's good to look back on and be like, I was only doing one-to-ones, I was only starting off with community sessions, and now I'm at a level where I'm honing my skills into video analysis. I'm working with an under-20s and first team setup. And it's just a sense of pride. To be fair, that's mostly what I get out of it.
That's awesome. Yeah. When you're everybody knows the question I'm about to ask because I always say it when I'm going to ask it. And when you're involved with all these types of clubs, and you obviously, we'll get like your social medias that you want to give away. We'll get that like towards the end and stuff. But when it comes to like your personal social media type stuff, or a lot, like we've kind of like realized that a lot of people have like their personal side and then their coaching side. Like the coaches have met, that's tend to like the way they run it, which is fair enough. But do you think that you should watch what you post on social media when it comes to because you're representing in a way huge teams, like it just it's probably a very like daunting thing for you to hear, but it's true. So when you're representing these teams, do you watch what you post and like what you say and the way you think? Because things can get like screenshotted and stuff. Is that something that you're always on your mind?
Yeah, that's like I'm similar to the other coaches we were saying. Kind of have like my own thing in my coaching side. Because I wouldn't want to like mix it. Like obviously, if I'm had a lot of posts with like my family, I wouldn't want my coaching side or my coaching social media to have pictures of my family, or to be have pictures of my friends. I would rather keep it separate. But yeah, I think obviously because you do have there might be like other people that look up to you. There might be other coaches that look up to you, or there might be other players that respect the fact of what you've done, and it's not just me, just in general. And I think obviously you do need to keep like that sense of like you're a role model to people, especially when I go into the schools with the kids. Like the reason why they tend to listen to me is because I'm seen as a role model because I've got this badge on my chest. And I think you just kind of need to, if you kind of just live your life like that and just kind of thinking like that in general. Obviously, you can have like your own posts and that, but anything like I just kind of like keep myself to myself that way. I have like my own personal Instagram, I have my own personal Twitter, and it's private because I don't want anyone from like my coaching side being like, oh, he said this about a game, he said this about a player, and not that anything bad, but like if I don't know, I'm maybe saying that I don't know, Ronaldo was rubbish last night or something like that, and someone's going, oh, this coach has said that Ronaldo's rubbish or anything like that. It's just like you need to obviously keep that sense of you are a role model to people. You do have this not change your persona, but you do have like this, I don't know how to describe it, where people look at you and like you're a professional.
Yeah.
Have to conduct yourself in a certain way, and I think that's the thing. Like obviously, we conduct ourselves in a certain way when we coach and when we're on the pitch and when we're like in these classrooms and that as well. And I think if you can have that persona and the same persona to show what other people can see, then you're fine. Like as long as you're not being mean to anyone, you're not being cruel, or you're not like questionable opinions, I think you'd be fine. And that's the thing. I just kind of keep myself with that type of stuff anyway.
Yeah, that's all. Great answer as well. Great answer. But when you're like, obviously you are spreading yourself thin, which is great. But when you do that, you're obviously going to like be able to, figure out what your flaws are, figure out what you're good at, figure out what you're, bad. Nobody's perfect, so like everybody can say like I'm bad at this, I'm bad at that. But yeah, when you've got your you're doing so much professional work, how do you like, what would you say your biggest like flaw was, and like professionally, and then maybe if there's more than, I don't think there'll be more than one, to be honest, but if there was more than one professionally, and then personally, what would you say is like some flaws you have?
I would probably say maybe it comes down to the time thing. I managed to get my work done. I managed to get everything done that's needed, but I think if I was more like precise with my timing, because I get the work done, but I know for a fact that if I was better with my timing and I used my time wiser, it would make my life a wee bit easier. Probably, I think maybe at times, certainly with university, is overthinking. I've certainly had that even at college, just overthinking tasks, thinking it's not something that is. It might be a simple task, but because I want to work well and want to do well, I'm overthinking. I'm like, oh, would this be better? And kind of overworking, like giving me too much of a workload, when it can be done simpler and can be done so much easier. But I think that's just the way that I am, and it's just the way that I naturally work. Is obviously I want to give out the best I can do to the best of my ability. So I will always try to find a way to improve out of that. And at times, like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So I think I need to take that into like thinking about it that way, and maybe change the way I'm thinking of planning that type of stuff as well.
Yeah. What about personally? What would you say is, because it seems like if obviously if you don't mind my candor, I'd say I personally I would be like, it doesn't seem from the outlet you have a lot of like me time, like you can like sit down and be like turn off and switch off. Is that something you would say one of your flaws is you don't have that relaxation time?
Yeah, I would say that probably is. That's probably one of my biggest flaws. Is I don't have enough time to reflect, which at times can hinder progress. Obviously looking at sessions, looking at maybe videos I've done, or maybe university work. I don't really give myself that time. Give myself that time to reflect, to sit back and go, right, could I have done this better? Could this have been better? Could I maybe have went about this a certain way? Could I maybe put this coaching point in? Could just have a look and see how I can improve. Because I think if any line of work you're in, or any career that you're in, if you want to progress, you need to have a look at your flaws and how you can kind of mend flaws, or how you can improve. And I just now I'm not really giving myself that time. And I think that I kind of need to allocate that a wee bit better. But again, that comes with trial and error. So it's something I'm trying to bring into my personal life and my work life, is maybe having that little bit more time where I can sit down and reflect over sessions or video analysis or university work, where I can go, right, I can do this better. I should be doing this, and this.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and I think that if you can, the reason I asked that as well is because with someone like yourself, if you can figure out your flaws like you just did, you'll now be able to you probably go off this podcast and think about them and then implement them and change it. Because I do think it's very it's a great thing when you can actually identify flaws, because that's how like you just said, that's how you improve, that's how you get better, and like how you push yourself forward. But the last question I want to ask yourself is that, with all this sort of stuff, and like you're saying, with everything you do in that, what would you like if you had to say, not your 5-year goal, like the cliche thing everybody's parents ask them, they always ask that, but like you will say like you're not even, I won't put a time limit on it because it's hard when you do that type of thing because you never actually know. Like obviously we've had a pandemic, and then before that, fuel prices made it really hard for people to get about and things like that. There's loads of different things that like change people's plans and stuff. But if you had to say your plans for the whole, future would be a great word, like I said, what would you say they were? Like, do you have like any idea where you want to be, or you just kind of quite want to stay where you are? What's your
first of all, get my driving license. that would be a short-term goal, hopefully. But with my university course, it takes me on to my B license next year, my B youth the year after, and then on my A license. So my dream and my goal is to go professional, is to be a professional coach, to be at one of the top teams. Whether it's the aspect of a head coach, or maybe even an assistant, or even within video analysis, or scouting as well. Scouting's another avenue I've kind of looked down, or maybe even a goalkeeper coach. My main goal is to go pro. And it doesn't matter if it's pro at a lower league team, or if it's at one of the higher teams, or if it's abroad, or wherever it is. If I can be part of a pro setup, then that would be a sense of that a dream came true, a dream of achievement. And I feel that within the next 3 years, within getting my A license, I would only be 27, get my A license. I think that stands me in good stead, which can then obviously lead on to me trying to get my pro license, which can take me to coaching pro teams. So obviously there's numerous factors that can affect that within the next couple of years, but all going well and no factors hindering it, then ideally within probably just get breaking into my 30s, ideally being a pro setup.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Good on you as well. And I do want to I appreciate your time and everything, especially considering the amount of work you do. That's why I was so as soon as you said I was actually going to be running late as well. So kind of thank God you said that a little bit. But yeah, that's why I was determined to have you on, because I know how valuable you can clearly see, and everybody that's obviously listening as well can clearly listen and see that how valuable time is to yourself. So I do appreciate that, and I'm sure everybody will appreciate your time. But what we'll go back to just your social media type stuff, and in the sense of what is there any social medias that you want? I'll obviously get them off you after the podcast, and then I'll we'll figure out the description and stuff. But what is your social medias that you want people to shout out and follow and stuff like that?
It would mostly be the best soccer one. So on Instagram it's at best soccer coaching. On Twitter, my personal coaching page is Lewis B coaching, and you've also got the BSc coaching is the best soccer one, and Facebook best soccer coaching as well. YouTube best soccer coaching. Keep it pretty simple. The TikTok as well. We do a couple of little videos on TikTok. Not posted recently, but I'll try to get some more content up on that. And that's best soccer coaching as well. Even if as soon as it comes up best soccer coaching, it should come up quite easy there as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, I appreciate I appreciate your time, and honestly, the road. If you keep going the road that you're going on, it would be great to see where you are in 5 years or 10 years and stuff. So definitely want to keep in touch and maybe get you back on when you're maybe even coaching Celtic or something. That'd be awesome.
Let's hope so.
But yeah, anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. I appreciate everything. And again, we're now literally everywhere. There's not a place you can't go, thanks to Spotify, I have to say, that they're spreading it everywhere for us. So I really appreciate that. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and again, thank you very much for being here.